So when you have a wholesale deal, for it to be a valid contract, you have to have equitable interest. So that's whatever deposit. In the state of Virginia, that's earnest money. In North Carolina, it could be due diligence or earnest money. But whatever money that you're putting on the contract, and it could be as much as $1. And here's where I see a lot of wholesalers getting themselves into trouble sometimes, is they'll put a contract and there's no money down. And then you don't, if the seller calls your bluff or tries to back out of the contract, and you say, well, I'm going to sue you for specific performance or wherever it is, you don't have equitable interest in the property, so it's not going to stand up. For me, it's all about the relationship, right? So for me, it's understanding. I like to do more listening when I go to a property than I'm talking. I want to understand their story. Not so much picking it apart for pain points or anything like that, but really just trying to understand the seller more, trying to understand more about their situation and knowing how I can help. I think that's the biggest shift in mindset that a lot of people don't get, is they're looking to make $1. I'm looking to provide value. Also looking at, and this is something that anybody can do as well too, if you can check the MLS and see what things are selling as is. Like, go on MLS and see what houses are selling as is in square footage, and that'll tell you what the market is saying. So if you get a property under contract and your rehab is comparable, it'll tell you right there what you need to sell that property for as well too. So really studying what's going on in the market is the biggest thing.
Greetings, class. Greetings YouTube. How you doing? It is good to see you. Tonight we are going to go a little bit back and forth and talk about real estate. Is that all right with you guys? If you don't mind, clap it up for yourself for being here this evening. Thank you for coming. Get some energy in here. Good gracious. Y'all not gonna drain me down tonight. I'm gonna lift y'all up. I'm not doing this. Yeah. So thank you for coming. I'm gonna be your co-pilot tonight as we talk about real estate investing. Oh, that's right. Gotta clap for the camera. Sorry about that. We're gonna talk about real estate investing, wholesaling, brokering. Is that a word? Brokering, being an agent, and what does it look like being an agent with our guests tonight. I met this gentleman fairly recently, and the things that he's doing is truly unbelievable for a 30-year-old. And I'm honored to have him on the stage with us tonight. If you don't mind, clap it up for Kerrel Gomes.
Thank you for having me.
Man, it is such an honor to have young people. I can say that now.
Yeah.
My mentor tells me he's got underwear older than me, and I feel like I get to kind of say that to you now. I got underwear older than you, so. For the mode of this evening, Kerrel and I will go back and forth for about 45 minutes, and then I would love to get Q&A for anybody that wants to ask Kerrel questions or me questions or anybody here. And I have to shout out my boy Jody Japo. Please clap it up for Japo. This is his location. Thank you, brother. Thank you for letting us use this here. We got the smoothies, Japo. We have juice tonight too. Everything's fresh, cold pressed. This dude's got a juice bar in the back. He has the Vitamixes. He's got all the mixes that you want. He helped me get through a 21-day cleanse coming here, making these things, and they're unbelievable. You feel like you're in the Bahamas when you drink this stuff. Full bar over here, so support Jody's establishment if you can. Help keep us in business here. So I'm going to be a co-pilot. We're going to be talking to Kerrel about his journey, because I believe, from my perspective, being a YouTuber and an entrepreneur, the journey the story is most important. It is of the utmost importance, because people think you just showed up here. When and with me, they see the camera, the screen, and they think, well, nah, he's always been doing that. Yeah. But I want the people to understand your journey, and you didn't just show up being a real estate broker here tonight. I like to call it the road behind us. A lot of us want to get out there and be YouTubers and be influencers and write books and do all this training. They contact me on a daily basis, and the first thing I ask them is, let's talk about, I don't want to talk about the road in the future. I want to talk about the road from the past. What brings us here, right? How did we get here? So I want Kerrel to be able to share some of that, and hopefully it will inspire some of you tonight to get out there and let's do some deals. So let's start from the beginning. You were born in No, we're not gonna go that deep.
Not into-
No, we're not gonna go that far. I'm curious about your previous life. Let's talk about the road behind you. Engineer life, getting into being a real estate guy and into the entrepreneurial spirit. Tell me about that journey a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. Again, thank you for having me. Really, the journey started when I was maybe around 7, 8 years old. I wanted to either be an architect or engineer. A lot of that was kind of pushed on me. It was always this premise of go to school, get a job, you work to like 70 years old and then retire, and then you can go on vacations afterwards.
Was that the conversation in your household?
It was, yeah. That's what we were kind of, trained to really think about. So I stuck with the engineering path. I went to school, got good grades, always had a love for math and sciences. Ended up going to Virginia Tech and getting my mechanical engineering degree, and moved out to Texas to work in the oil and gas industry.
I know that had to be great.
Oh yeah, initially it was good money. I mean, I'm coming out of school making some good money. I was happy, but pretty quickly I figured out that this wasn't something that was for me. I was working there for about 3 years. It was 24-hour on-call shifts. So if something broke, you come into the refinery and you help get it fixed. And after a while, that kind of wears on you. And all the time I was thinking about it, I was like, man, I'm really working to build someone else's company up and not really getting the chance to develop myself or work on myself. So it wasn't, I actually got off of shift and then I went back in because I got called in again. So it was like 11 p.m. when I got home. And my dad actually called me, and my dad works in construction. So he's been in construction. He works with my George Gomes. He works with my Uncle Alex as well too. And they've always done, handyman work, fixing and helping other people, flipping their houses. And he randomly called me. He must have knew I got off, and I don't know how he does, but he gave me a call and said, "How's everything going?" And it was the craziest question because in that moment I felt drained. I felt, exhausted, and I was also at the same time I was listening to podcasts in my free time when I was at work, and listening to Kris Haskins as well too, and really everything kind of translated off of that one conversation. So at the end of the conversation, he said, "Why don't you just move back from Texas to Raleigh, North Carolina, where I grew up at?" And I was just like, "Yeah, let's do this." So I called my boss that night, and he was just like, "Man, did you get enough sleep? Are you drunk right now? Like, what's going on?" And I was just like, "Man, I'm telling you, this is just, I'll tell you the same thing in the morning, but I'm just putting in my two weeks. It's not for me."
That's holy cow.
So 2 weeks after, I ended up back in North Carolina, and that's how the whole journey really started for me.
That's crazy. I once again, man, I admire people that can make decisions like that. Because most of us, I don't know about you guys, but I would be scared to death. Tell me about what you were thinking. I mean, how you set an income, all this?
Oh yeah, the income went from, I was making 6 figures to making 0. So, everything dropped off drastically.
Wasn't married at that time, no doubt.
No, I wasn't. I had the flexibility, but yeah, I took a leap of faith, and honestly, as soon as I touched down in North Carolina, I really started diving in pretty heavy into real estate. So just getting all that knowledge and trying to soak it in.
Got it. So you, at this time in your life, you're a broker, manager for New Western firm. I'm presuming. Just give me a 40,000 foot view of what is New Western. You guys are everywhere. I see deals they're coming through my email every week. It's just crazy.
Yeah. So that's a great question. I thought the same thing when I saw the job posting for New Western. I was like, what is this?
It doesn't say real estate.
Yeah, it's investment real estate. So it's a little bit vague. You're like, what do they do? Essentially what we do is we're a little bit similar to a wholesaling brokerage. So we operate a marketplace that provides inventory for buyers and simple solutions for sellers. So pretty much we try to be as full service as possible. We're a lot different from a traditional brokerage, such as like a Keller Williams or a Remax. We don't represent buyers or sellers. We literally get properties under contract, figure out what they're worth, figure out how much rehab needs to go into them, and if they'll make a good rental or fix and flip opportunity, and then we link them with an investor.
You don't represent buyers or sellers.
No, that's correct. We just operate in a wholesaling capacity.
That's deep. Could you elaborate a little bit on that? What other real estate broker wouldn't represent buyers and sellers? I mean, I can't even comprehend.
Yeah, it's pretty much the best way to think of us is a transactional brokerage. So, yeah, that's right. So, and a lot of that has to do with, just the speed of our transactions and the nature of our business. But we try to be full service, and whatever you might need, if you need lending, we can help provide, hard money lending options. If you need contractors and listing agents, property managers, that's why we come to events and host events as well too, is to network with people in the local community to be able to refer our investors, because not everyone's in town. Not everyone's local. Some of our buyers are out of state because of our network. We have about 50 offices across the nation, and a lot of them we get referrals from out of state. Someone buying from California, and they're like, okay, well, I really like the numbers on this one, but I don't have a listing agent. Well, we met 3 at a meetup. We'll send all of them to our clients. So that's what we try to provide is also not just the property, but also provide value in other ways.
Tell me about the difference between, I'm just in my head, I'm a local buyer, I know the streets, I know what I want, I know the numbers, I can look at it, pre-screen it quickly. I'm presuming with an out-of-town buyer, they're gonna have a different criteria than I have, and somebody coming from Cali or Florida or somebody, they're looking for a completely different product and ROI than I would be. Yeah. Tell me about the difference in those two buyers.
Yeah, for sure. We work with a big range of buyers, so not just out of state, but also local as well too. And what we try to do is we submit, on average, we're a new market here. I opened up the office here about a year ago. And so we're getting probably between 10 and 12 deals a month. And all of the deals kind of vary in what strategy might appeal to someone. So one buyer might be looking for a rental and it has to have this amount of equity in it. And then someone else might be looking for, a cosmetic fix and flip that's only, paint and floors. Someone else might say, well, listen, I'm a contractor myself. I can do full rehabs. I can do stuff where you're almost rebuilding the entire house. So we try to just analyze the deal for what it is, and then put it out to our investors and see which investor kind of gravitates to it.
And you're not under contract with these investors, because when you say you don't represent buyers, I'm a buyer, and I get your emails all the time. That relationship, tell me about the relationship that's different between.
So we don't go into, with as far as not representing buyers, we don't sign a brokerage agreement. So let's say, we're exclusive agreement where you have to only work with us. You can work with anyone you want to when you deal with us. We're strictly just providing inventory and properties. So if you do want to buy a property from us, we will go under contract and we do a double closing. So we'll close with the seller and then we'll sell it, to the end buyer as well too.
So you're actually closing on the deals, Kerrel.
100%. That's right.
Oh my, this is crazy. I mean, the strategy here, I've just never. How many other companies are out there doing this? Do you know of?
There's actually a good amount. We're one of the biggest ones in this space, but I think there's a number of other companies as well too that are also doing it too. And I know some big ones in Florida and Texas. But yeah, it's starting to become a little bit more of a trend too.
I'm hearing that a lot of people throw the word around hedge fund buyers. Yes. Are you considered in that category?
No, I wouldn't consider us in that category. A lot of those buyers also hold inventory. We don't hold inventory. No, we strictly we contract on a property and then we sell it to our end buyer. Some of those companies end up holding inventory and deciding what to do and selling it off afterwards. But
it's a truly amazing strategy, and you are doing real estate wholesaling only.
That's correct.
So for my roundup homies that may not understand what wholesaling is, or is it contract assignment, entry fee, stuff's changing every day. The way they're saying this stuff. Entry fee is the new term. Everybody heard of entry fees? I'm like, it changes. I'm like, what is an entry fee? I got the technology's changing.
I had to update my lingo too, man. I was caught off guard.
Just break it down for our viewers that may not know what
Yeah. So wholesaling in a nutshell is finding a property, getting it under contract, and selling it to an investor for a profit. So in doing so, you don't actually have to close on the property. So there's ways that you can assign the contract. You have equitable interest in the property, and then you're assigning your rights to that contract to an investor. So for a simple example, let's say I found a house in Virginia Beach for $100,000, which would be amazing, and then you assign it to an investor for $110,000, and you'll make that $10,000 profit in between.
Got it. Everybody got that? Please say yes if you do.
Yes.
Yes, all right. So real estate wholesaling, Kerrel. I wholesaled real estate from 2004 to 2000 and maybe 12 strictly, and it is an extremely demanding business. I can imagine you doing 10 transactions a month. Can you just please tell me what that looks like?
It's a lot of stress, honestly. I mean, the biggest thing is you're dealing with a lot of different, not just the asset, the house itself, but you're dealing with you're dealing with a lot of different personalities. You're dealing with a lot of different issues. What's going on with the house, the situation. Sometimes title issues. Sometimes a divorce issue. One time where the husband and wife agree, but then I don't care if this house gets foreclosed on. You deal with a lot of different stuff, and I think that's the hardest part of the business is managing those relationships. But if you can do that, if you can, wade through the pressure, then there is, opportunity.
But I'm imagining you. I haven't been to your office, but it's not like you're out there. You've got agents doing this stuff also. I don't want to say you, but there's agents that are doing it there also. You have another layer of management.
Yeah, exactly. So I have a couple of my agents here as well too. Want to give a shout out to Devin in the back and Markel here, my wife Catherine, and Lee as well too. So yeah, they really help make my job a lot easier. They're finding properties and finding investments, and we're running numbers together. And then also on the sales side, they're reaching out to investors, figuring out what their criteria is, figuring out what they're looking for, what their real estate goals are, and we're really just marrying the two. We're putting those together to figure out if some of these properties work. Which is pretty big. I mean, we really rely on a lot of feedback that you all provide to be able to do what we do. I mean, we had an investment opportunity that was out in Smithfield, and at the time we created the office, we're like, we don't know anybody who's looking out in Smithfield, so there was no point in us trying to get that property under contract.
So I want to talk to you about marketing. And lead flow, deal flow is just the gas that's going to run a wholesale business. We don't even need to get into financing, because if you're not closing it, there is no financing for people that. Well, what would you say before we get into your marketing for my viewers that are watching and say, I just need the money. If I just had the money, I would get into real estate. Kerrel, what would you say?
Honestly, it's not about, to me, I know this sounds wrong, but it's not really about the money. Honestly, it's about just taking action. It's really just going out there. There's so much content. I mean, follow Kris Haskins. Actually take action on what you're learning. That's the biggest thing. As I kind of told you in my story too, that leap of faith, which was to many people, everyone told me I was completely crazy. Like, what are you doing? This is not going to work, right? And then and you get out there and you do it, and you're learning through that. So you're going to make mistakes. You're going to have some times where you come up short, but in the long term, you'll be successful. So I would just say, don't focus so much about the money part of it. Just jump in. That's really what helped me get started on my real estate career.
So we're going to get to the office part, but I heard you say mistakes. I meet people coast to coast that are scared to make mistakes, Kerrel, and I'm nervous about people that I wanted you to talk about investing to win as opposed to investing to not lose. Like, people they're so nervous about not losing, they don't do anything.
Yeah, no, that's that analysis paralysis where you try to overthink the problem. You always try to think, well, I don't know anything about contracts, so let me just try to study, and then I'm waiting, and then sometimes you have to just jump in, and you'll learn quickly what you don't know, and then you'll find a way to figure it out. Trust me.
Well, what can a human being lose, Kerrel, on a wholesale deal? I mean, what is it actually to lose?
It's just what you put up. So when you have a wholesale deal, for it to be a valid contract, you have to have equitable interest. So that's whatever deposit. In the state of Virginia, that's earnest money. In North Carolina, it could be due diligence or earnest money. But whatever money that you're putting on the contract, and it could be as much as $1. And here's where I see a lot of wholesalers getting themselves into trouble sometimes, is they'll put a contract and there's no money down. And then you don't, if the seller calls your bluff or tries to back out of the contract, and you say, well, I'm gonna sue you for specific performance or wherever it is, you don't have equitable interest in the property, so it's not gonna stand up. I think, so what you have to lose is whatever deposit you put down, but like I said, it doesn't have to be a lot. My first contract that I put down before I joined New Western, the only deal that me and my dad did, a wholesale deal that we did, I put down $10.
$10, y'all.
And the seller just asked, oh, can you bring that to my house? And I said, sure can. Yeah, no problem. I'm coming right now. So it doesn't have to be a lot of money. But aside from that, it's just investing the time and the effort to do it.
So all of you watching here tonight, I want you to understand that you do not necessarily need to have a bunch of money to get started, okay? I don't want you to just take it from me, take it from the man. My guest tonight is with people here. Don't let lack of money stop you from starting in real estate, okay? Everybody under my voice here tonight, I just hear this every day. Kerrel, I wish I could just have 25 cents every time somebody just says, I just need the money. If I just had the money, and I'm like, I don't even entertain them anymore.
No, you don't need it.
I can't push my beliefs onto people, right? I mean, if you think you need the money, cool. But if you're wholesaling, the only thing you can lose is an earnest money deposit.
That's it.
Let's say, all right, we put $100 down, $10. If you can't afford to lose $10, then you might not even need to be getting in real estate.
You got to find a way to get that $10. I mean, even then you got the inspection periods you can put in your contracts too, so you don't have to lose that $10 anyway. So when it comes down to it, you really don't need the money to get started.
Thank you. All right. So what would your agents do if they're not representing buyers and sellers, Kerrel? I mean, I'm just trying to picture your office.
I mean, it's coming and going. Honestly, we're there in the morning. We have a morning meeting, so we'll go over closing.
Is this every day?
No, this is Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Okay. But my agents are in there every day. We like to have a hands-on approach. So I know a lot of people, when they think about a real estate brokerage, they think about like a virtual space. I'm very hands-on. I like for us to be out in the field, talking to sellers, talking to buyers, actually connecting with the community more so than just being a name or name over email. So we're constantly there. The acquisition side is constantly walking properties, running numbers, running values, and then the disposition side is really setting up meetings and figuring out whether that's face-to-face or Zoom, whatever people are comfortable with. But we're trying to make sure that we can get some time with people who are actively doing it.
Let's talk about that. For people that may not understand, what is the difference between, tell us about that. You got acquisition and disposition. What is that?
It's how our teams broke up. It's basically two parts. So one, on the acquisition side, they're looking for properties for our end buyers. So they're looking for it could be land, it could be multifamily, fix and flips, rentals, but they're looking for these properties anywhere in Hampton Roads. We also recently branched out to Williamsburg and Richmond as well too. So they're looking in all of these different areas. So putting a lot of miles in their car, but they're driving all over looking for these properties. And then on our sales side, once we do get those properties under contract and have them almost gift wrapped up, we give them to our sales team, and they're basically calling investors, setting up meetings, and really trying to get these properties out so we can show them and hopefully get them closed and sold. Yeah,
with Kerrel, I'm getting emails. I mean, I get email, text message, phone call. I'm like, these dudes are on the ball.
We don't stop. We apologize for that.
I'm good with it. I'm like, there he goes again. Boom. I don't know, different agent or whatever. I'm thankful that I'm on your list. So to do the volume, what percentages are you double closing, and what percentage out of 10 do you have to close on to resell? Because that's a different strategy than just selling a piece of paper.
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought up that point too. So one of our sister companies is called Sherman Bridge Lending, and they'll also be able to finance deals for end buyers if they need as well too.
They'll finance your buyers that come through?
That's right. Yep. So what they also do is fund the double close as well too. So when we're purchasing the property to resell to our investors, they're funding that for our side too. So
They're funding you, and they'll fund the end buyer.
that's correct.
All right, go.
Yep.
That's amazing.
So that's really how we were able to double close on all of our properties. So that's really our strategies. We try to find them a buyer. Once we located a buyer, we'll do a double closing.
So out of 10, how many are closed and how many do you just?
I would say 8 out of 10 we're closing. So
really?
out of 10 to 12 properties we put out, we'll close about 8 of them.
Oh man, okay.
That's
Any particular reason why, or?
I mean, it all depends. Sometimes we can't find an investor for that specific property.
So you'll close it and hold it
No.
to find a buyer.
No, we'll close it on the same day. So if we have closing set up for February 2nd, with the seller, we'll have that set up with the buyer as well too.
Okay, so you're going through the whole system at that same time.
Exactly, that's right.
Interesting stuff. So tell me about this financing. How does one approve, or is it something you offer people in the room, perhaps?
100%. Anyone in the room, we can get you pre-qualified on business time. Within like 30 minutes, we should be able to get you pre-qualified. It all depends on if our loan rep, his name is Elton. It all depends on how busy he gets. Sometimes his guarantee is 24 hours.
Is he here?
No, he's not here. He's in Northern Virginia right now. But yeah, if any one of our New Western reps can get you in touch with Elton, and he can at least tell you what you're qualified for, what those loan terms will look like, and he can help out in any way.
Is this something that is offered outside of doing with you guys?
100%. I'm glad you asked that too. Even if you are interested in purchasing a property not through New Western, Sherman Bridge is also willing to provide lending options as well too.
I'm just jotting down Bridge. People in the room, I pray you're taking notes here. Good God. Sherman Bridge. If you don't have financing, there you go. Somebody's going to finance. I'm presuming they have to be financing ugly houses, Kerrel, because that's usually what we live with.
That's the only type of houses they finance. Yep, that's right. We also partner with a lot of local lenders too, such as Sean Bowen. He's a private money lender here, and then also Easy Street Capital. They're not a local lender, but we had one property where we needed the buyer's financing fell through, and they funded the deal within 6 hours. So we have some pretty good relationships with lending if anyone needs.
So are you in the marketing on the acquisition side, Kerrel? Are you dealing with some of the marketing, or what is your favorite way to find leads, or does New Western give you leads? How does that work?
Yeah, so in addition to Sherman Bridge, we also have a company called HomeGo, and they'll do direct-to-seller marketing for us. So they'll do mailers. They just got into radio, Hulu commercials, and then basically, once those leads come through, they'll get channeled to our acquisitions team, and then we'll take appointments and then provide. Once we get those locked up, we'll provide them to our buyers.
Do you go on home appointments still, Kerrel?
I still do. I love to be in the field. I hate just sitting behind a desk. I can't do it. So for me, I love to get out in the field and look at properties. So I'm looking at least, I would say, anywhere between 5 and 10 properties a week.
Okay, that's not too bad. What can you tell our new investors that said, Kerrel, I looked at 3 houses and I didn't get a deal, man. What am I gonna do?
It's all a numbers game. You just gotta keep going. We put out about 100 offers a month, and we'll get back probably like I said, 10 to 12. But it's really just a numbers game, and the whole time you're learning as well too. You're learning how to sharpen your rehab numbers. You're learning how to understand neighborhoods and values. So it's really just a numbers game. It's about getting out there, being active, and not just watching it happen. Just go out there. Go into that house that's kind of the walls are going in a little bit. You go into that house, and because you're going to learn a lot coming out of it.
You learn a lot. Yep, that's what they taught me going every single. Tell me about your home. Tell me about your offers. I never forget. My mentor says, Kris, I'm going to tell you one thing. You will never buy a house unless you make an offer. It just ain't happening. Right. It is impossible to buy a house unless you make an offer. So tell me about your offers. Are they written down? Is it verbal? Is it on the phone?
Yeah, so we do our offers. It's a little bit of both. It's verbal, so we'll give the verbal offer, then we'll write it up and send it over. We try to write it up and send it over just so we can track it in our system. We use Salesforce, but we try to just track everything, because a big thing people don't understand is that you can send an offer, they can go with another offer, but your follow-up systems is so important. I mean, I would probably say 20%, at least 15 to 20% of our deals, or my personal deals, have come from follow-up. It's having good relationship and rapport with the sellers and following up. Oh, well, you're supposed to close on this in February 1st. All right, February 2nd, I'm calling again. How did that go? If it went through, congratulations. If not, I should be next up. So it's really just understanding, where you're putting your offers at and keeping a system and a way to track them.
The follow-up. So when you go out to the home, I would like to know when you go. So for me, I'm building rapport. I want to know the story. Tell me about when you're going out, Kerrel. What can you share talk about that visit?
For me, it's all about the relationship, right? So for me, it's understanding. I like to do more listening when I go to a property than I'm talking. I want to understand their story. Not so much picking it apart for pain points or anything like that, but really just trying to understand the seller more, trying to understand more about their situation, knowing how I can help. I think that's the biggest shift in mindset that a lot of people don't get, is they're looking to make $1. I'm looking to provide value. So they're looking to make $1. I'm looking to provide value. And when you get to that point where you're actively trying to provide value, you'll see that the results kind of follow from that.
Provide value. Man, I'm so happy you said that. I remember when I started out, it was like I call it deal-itis. Yeah. You just want to get a deal so bad. And sellers can smell it. Mm-hmm. They can sense that. But when you walk in there like, you know what, I don't know if we're going to do this deal or not. Yeah, 100%. Isn't it? So you new investors don't have deal-itis. It's going to come back and get you. Kerrel, where do you see, since you have such a pulse on the market now, where do you see the future of our market and nationwide? Because no doubt you talk to the other managers around.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. So local market, and this is one of the reasons I actually came, like I said, from Raleigh, North Carolina, which is really big in tech and education. But one of the reasons why I uplifted the family and moved the wife and kids down here was because Hampton Roads is such a good market for everything, for rentals, for fix and flips. The area itself is, when you think about the military presence, it's insulated from a lot of turbulence that happens in the market. So when you're thinking about, oh, well, this is happening over here, wars, a lot of different things that causes some turmoil, the Hampton Roads area is at a slight steady appreciation, which is a great place to be in real estate. As far as the national market, what I'm seeing is, so you have 30-year mortgages right now for FHA is sitting at like around 6.7, 6.8. And a lot of that, from what people are saying, especially from the Fed meetings, is that interest rates are predicted to go down. What that does right now is it just creates a boom for the real estate market, and it creates a flood of buyers coming back in this market. Right now, inventory is still really low right now. It's sitting at 2 months. In some areas like Virginia Beach, a month and a half. That's a really strong seller's market. And so when you couple that with the expected interest rate decline, it just helps out with the affordability crisis we're having right now. And that just makes it a really good place to be in real estate. If you're holding real estate, if you're getting in real estate, if you want to get into a fix and flip or hold a rental, this is a really good time to get in.
It's really something, man. I was talking to my partner yesterday where I feel like we're the rabbit in the briar patch. I mean, I don't even know how it could be. Interest rates coming down. It's truly amazing to see inventory being so tight around here. What is the healthy market, Kerrel, regarding time on the market? What does that look like for you?
So, I'd say for a balanced market, you're at 6 months of inventory, and we're nowhere close to that right now. So, as far as like our days on market right now, it's sitting in some areas 2 weeks, in other areas about 3 weeks. But still, people think like, I think the funniest thing is coming out of 2021 and 2022, people were used to 1 day on market. And so now when they're seeing 2 weeks on market, they're thinking, oh, wow, things are slowing down. That's still incredibly fast.
Crazy, right?
That's
A
incredibly
healthy
fast.
market is 6 months.
Exactly.
That's a healthy market.
Yeah.
And we talking about, I have the same means with my people.
Yeah.
They're like, damn, we ain't got an offer in 2 weeks. I'm like, dude, do you remember 7 years ago when we didn't get an offer for 2 months?
Exactly. So we're in a really good place in real estate.
So what is the difference between your agent, Kerrel, and an agent that's going to go to Keller Williams or Century?
No, it's a great question. It actually brings me back to a story. So when I got into real estate, and I found our brokerage, New Western, my mom's a social worker, so she's in Raleigh, that's right. And so she's good with working with people, understanding them, listening to them. And I was like, Mom, you'd be great for real estate. And she was just like, yeah, I think I'll look into it sometime. If anyone who knows me, I'm very impatient. If you didn't know about my story where I left my job and moved back home, like I just take action. I don't wait, I just do it. So
Good thing, bro.
it can be. So
It can be. We had to talk to her about that. Yeah, we know about.
Don't tell my wife that. But so I ended up just signing her up for a course, and I said, hey, Mom, I'm signing you up. You're starting your real estate courses next week. And she was like, what? And she was just and now she thanks me every day for it because this is exactly where she wanted to be. But on the traditional side, what she does, she loves talking to buyers and showing them what their dream home could be. Finding the specific area, talking about zip codes. She loves to dive into that, and she loves it. That's the retail side. Okay. Yeah, she loves to dive into that space with them, and truly like helping them find their dream home and working with them to get there. I'm more fixated on values, on areas, and also that building those relationships as well too. But just dealing with the investment side of things. I like to go into those houses where, the floors are caving in and the carpet's ripped up. To me, I look at it and I immediately see what it can be. So to me, that's what intrigues me. So her, she loves actually the finished product. So that's where New Western differs for some of the bigger brokerages on the retail side, is that they both have 2 different types of agents that you normally gravitate towards them. For on our side, we're really looking for agents who, for one, love to go to those type of houses, to love to pitch the vision to investors, love to dive into the numbers and the details. And we're looking to get people who are really hands-on, who love to just be in the office, making those calls, going out to meet people, like, not afraid to get out that comfort zone. Now, mind you, I had no background in real estate or sales or anything like that. The first time I spoke to an investor, I called him Kerrel. I said, hey, Kerrel, my name's Kenny. I said, no, you're Kenny. I was just like, man, you want to buy a house? I butchered the whole thing. I didn't know what I was talking about, but it's about, I called him the wrong name, but it's about just getting out there and then you'll figure it out as you go along. So
Your agent, what would attract an agent to you? I mean, because the houses were, most agents want to be warm and fuzzy, house fixed up. I mean, who are these people? I mean, how are you attracting agents to come?
No, 100%. So for one, it's the value of doing a lot of transactions and learning through those, the volume too.
You're only buying one house.
Exactly. So my agents get paid on the profit that we make on the house. So if we make a profit on the house, they'll get paid a commission on top of that profit, as opposed to a percentage of the actual sales price, because of the nature of our transaction. But that being said, with the average agent doing, let's say 10 to 12 deals a month, my agents average about 30 transactions a year. So just besides the monetary benefit that comes with that much business, is also the intrinsic fact of achieving what some agents strive to achieve in 5 years in one, and being able to learn through that and understand. So whether they stay with New Western or want to go to a different brokerage, they have all this knowledge. They've seen a lot of different situations. They've been to war a little bit, where they got to get get a little bit bruises and kind of learn through those things. So that's really what an agent gets when they come there.
When Kerrel, just walk me through this thing. I'm picturing an agent going to real estate school, learning all the stuff to represent buyers and sellers, and then they come see you.
Yep. 100%.
I don't know. It might be a disconnect there.
No,
maybe it's just me.
No, it's so we're all licensed, everyone at New Western, and one of the reasons why is because this space is becoming more regulated. If you look at places like Chicago as well too, you need to hold a license.
Is it coming down for everybody?
It's sweeping the nation. A lot more places is coming. You can't even in North Carolina, you can't do assignments anymore.
Oh yeah.
You have to do to actually close on the properties. You need to double close or get transactional funding. So the whole push for us to become licensed really started back in 2008 when our company was founded, and it was because of really looking ahead a little bit and kind of seeing, well, how do we do this the right way, right? So we're actually able to research values. We're actually able to provide, even though we don't represent buyers or sellers in a fiduciary capacity, we're still responsible for trust, for making sure that we're providing, information that's pertinent as well too. We're still held to the same code of ethics as well too. So that's one of the reasons. That's what, even though we're not operating in that capacity as a retail agent, we're still held to some of those same standards as well too.
I'm not going to I see Devin here. I'm not going to beat them up. I just want to understand. Most people go to real estate school. They think I'm sure that they're thinking that they're going to represent buyers, and then they see you. How do you bring them? I don't want to say bring them down, but bring them around to the stuff that we look at. We're looking at.
No, honestly, we actually do it in two different ways. So we'll do like a phone screen and an interview and a ride along, and they'll actually get to see what we do on a day-to-day basis. Because sometimes, I've had an agent before who came out to a house and said, "Oh, this is the type of houses we're selling." She's like, "All right, I'm out." And it was like, but that's good because it's honestly, it's not for everybody,
That's my point. I'm like, well,
it's really, you get a day in the life where you get to see it, and then if it's for you, then we provide a lot of training and help out. And if it's not, it's also perfectly fine as well too.
So you're getting them. I don't want to think that they're fresh out of real estate school. You got real estate agent school.
Yes, that's right.
Which I've never been to. This is not my thing. But then you have real estate investor school. I feel like you guys almost got a little bit of both.
A little bit of both. So as soon as they, have their license, whether they're a new agent or an agent who has been in the business for, for years and just wants to understand a different part of it, and then we'll have our training. We'll do a training between understanding our processes, the nature of our business, and then it's just jumping straight in. We get right to it. We're making calls together. We just dive straight in. So it's really just showing the investment side and if it's something that they'll be interested in.
You should record some of that stuff, Kerrel. You've got to be some shock going on in some of these meetings.
No, 100%. Like I said, it's not for everyone. So some people are just like, well, what is this? And then I don't know if I want to do this, which is perfectly fine. But we do have some agents who come on and they love it, People like Markel, who's been here, for 3 years. You can't get him to leave the office. So it's always there, always working and grinding. So it's definitely a different space. But if you're a go-getter, if you love a challenge, you love learning something new, it's definitely something that I definitely highly encourage.
I got you for a few more minutes and we get the Q&A. Anybody got questions, please, we'll get them to at the end. Tell me about your offer. I've got these equations in my head that we use to make offers. Let's talk about your offer, and so people can understand. They're like, obviously, people say, "Well, how do you get somebody to take an offer at this number or this price or whatever?"
Yeah, a lot of it comes down to, I know a lot of it, everyone knows about like the 70% rule, and a lot of people just stick to that like it's there's nothing else you can do. It's really about, and when you're making offers to sellers or whoever it is, it's really about understanding the product, right? Understanding what the market is saying. that's the biggest thing about our company is understanding what the market is saying. So if we have a house in Virginia Beach, you know, in all honesty, we're not selling that at 70% because the market is showing that investors it's really hot. It tends to offer, or retail, they tend to sell higher than asking, low days on market. So the market is very strong. So if an investor is paying 75% for it there, that's, you know, where we're trying to go in and negotiate at. And actually relaying that to our sellers, it's really important to note, most people don't understand how much rehab costs. That's a big thing when you're making offers, is spend some time. We did a training last week where we all went to Lowe's and gave a breakdown of a rehab and said, everyone run around and figure out like what these costs are for materials. And then, because there's so many times where people don't know what the rehab cost is.
Central heating in there, they think central heating in there is $2,500.
Yeah.
New roof, $3,000.
That's right.
Oh, I get that done, $3,000.
I went to a walkthrough and the seller was just like, yeah, you can get this kitchen renovated for like $800. And I was just like, man, new cabinets, new countertops. There's no way, if you can find someone to do it for $800, like, listen, I need their number because we got to do that right now. Yeah.
Kerrel, I'm like, you know what? Give me their phone number because I'm going to hire them.
100%. So it's really understanding those numbers can help you solidify that sometimes and help you get to that signed offer.
So this class you took, so that's going to help are your agents buyers?
So some of my agents are. So it's coming from Raleigh, North Carolina, that office there. I'd say probably 75% of our office became buyers. My agent, since my office is pretty new here, I'd say probably like 30% of my office also buy as well too. But the goal is for everyone to buy. I want everyone to become in real estate in some capacity, and everybody is interested. So it's just about, you know, jumping in and not having any fear as well too.
What's the difference, Kerrel, between an agent and a buyer?
Yeah, so agents, it depends on what capacity, but in a retail agent, you know, they're representing their clients, you know, making sure that they can meet their needs and help them. And a buyer as well too, they can be both, but a buyer is looking to find a property that fits their needs, and they're normally doing that either on their own or with some trusted partners as well too.
I mean, for you guys, so your agent might not be a buyer.
Oh, no, that's right. So if for our agents, they're acquiring the properties for our company, so that way we can get them under contract and then sell them to our investors. Now there is cases where if the properties don't sell, that's how we ended up buying 3 properties in 1 month because we got them under contract and they wouldn't sell, and we were like, well, we see the value in these, like how come they don't sell? And we ended up buying 3, which I don't recommend it. It was a lot of, you know, headache, but you know, we do also buy as well too, but it's most of the properties we get under contract are for our investors.
That's cool. So you're at 75%. I mean, obviously your equation is gonna vary.
Yeah, it definitely varies based on area, based on condition. For bigger rehabs, you know, we want to make sure there's more meat for investors because there's more risk in the project. And then it could be, you know, it could be higher percentages if it's a super clean property, oceanfront, you know. It just really depends on the area is how we kind of justify where the offers. Also looking at, and this is something that anybody can do as well too, if you can check the MLS and see what things are selling as is. Like go on MLS and see what houses are selling as is in square footage, and that'll tell you what the market is saying. So if you get a property under contract and your rehab is comparable, you know, it'll tell you right there what you need to sell that property for as well too. So really studying what's going on in the market is the biggest thing.
Do you work with buyers to help them with their AR, well, I don't want to say AR, after repair value, Kerrel?
100%. There's so many times where an investor will say, well, this property sold next door for, let's say the after repair value is $200,000. And they'll say, well, this one sold next door for $100,000. Well, that's the same condition as this house right here. You know, it's if you look at it, it's, you know, it's not fixed up. There's, you know, everything needs to be ripped apart. So it's a true comparable, when you're looking at it, you have to be careful. Is it as is comparable, or is it actually a fixed up comparable?
Let's talk about that. What is the difference, Kerrel? Somebody might not know.
No, definitely. When we look at, when we're putting together our rehab estimates, if 3 out of the 4 comps have granite countertop, we're budgeting for granite countertop, because you want to make sure that you're in line with what the comp sold for. Now, this is where you need to be careful as a buyer sometimes too, is you also don't want to over budget. Like, let's say you have a property and you're like, well, I want to do floor to ceiling marble.
I've seen it, bro. Marble floors.
Well, I wanted to add a second story to this house. Why? Everything in the community, everything in the subdivision is ranch. So you have to make sure that you are just putting up enough capital into a project to get that value add back out. So you don't want to put in more than you need to.
How do you teach your guys to understand construction numbers, Kerrel? I mean, it changes, it's fluctuates. I know, I've got my system, but tell me how about.
Yeah, so we do trainings. Like we said, we go into Lowe's training to study what the current material prices are. We network with local contractors and figure out how much are they charging for certain. If 3 out of 4 contractors say it's going to cost them, $1,200 to replace a water heater, we're like, okay, well, this went up a little bit. This is what we need to be budgeting. So it's really understanding what's going on in the local area, because coming from Raleigh, I was surprised coming here. I was just, man, the rehabs is, 10 to 15%, a little bit more than more here. But that was also because we established some really good relationships with contractors as well too here. So it was meeting new people here, and understanding what the numbers were as well too. So I'd say that the number one thing is, if you really want to understand rehab costs, talk to your local contractors, and the investor-friendly ones, not the ones who are saying, oh, I'm doing a custom build or new builds. They'll beat you over the head. So you want to make sure you're finding people who are actually working for investors.
Any tips for contractors? I'd like to know any tip you want to give them.
Yeah, I want to shout out Angel. He's Raj Contracting. He does really good work. I've used him on a project. We referred him out to our investors. I used him on 2 projects as well too, and he does really good work. He came to our REI on tap so either a month ago or a month and a half ago, but highly recommend him as well too.
What do you suggest for people that don't have they need to develop these relationships? Because I can't even tell you how much money I've lost with bad contractors.
Yes, 100%, myself included. Yeah, so yeah, 100%. I mean, you want to meet some contractors by going to certain things like we're at right now, going to meetups, meeting them in person, getting quotes, looking at their past work. That's the big thing. I want to speak to some of their past clients. I want to know how their experience was. That's something a lot of people aren't doing. They'll just get a price and say, oh, this price looks good. Let me hire this person. And then get into a nightmare. So it's really just, I'll just do my due diligence, just like you would on a property. Do your due diligence on a contractor too. And you'll find you'll develop some really good relationships as the relationship go on. Get better with pricing as well too. So you can really start developing some good finished products once you're finished.
When you're making your offers, Kerrel, or your office, are you breaking it down, the construction all the way down, or you're doing like we just do is 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70? I'm just going.
No, we're breaking it down by line item, but that's not what we break it down internally for ourselves by line item based on the current market prices for different things.
Yes.
But what we're doing is telling our investors what needs to be done. So we know that the roof needs to be replaced. We know that the flooring needs to be replaced. We know that the kitchen needs to be updated. And we're giving them that information and saying, hey, we budgeted around $60,000 to $65,000 for this project, but we're letting them call their rehab numbers, because in all reality, it could cost them more. It could be $70,000. They could say, well, why'd you guys call it 65? I can get this done for 40. So we really let our investors call that number, but we at least try to provide some reasoning behind how we got to our numbers.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm just about done with you, Kerrel. I want to know what would you say for new investors? I'm just trying to get our people get them off the couch, making offers, getting them to take some action. And how long have you been doing this, bro?
I've been doing this 5 years now, so still relatively new in the game, constantly a student, constantly learning.
You're a baby, man.
I tell you.
You're a baby, dog. I promise you, man. The dudes that mentor me, they're in the 80s. I mean, these guys are.
No, honestly, I really give it up to Kris Haskins, Eddie Ray, Max Maxwell, Jerry Norton. A lot of the people who I absorbed that information and just took action. I just said, all right, I'm tired of watching now. It's time to get in there. So the biggest thing I can say is just jump in. Don't be scared to fail. Don't be scared to not know something. I mean, you'll learn every step in the way. Like I said, I'm still learning.
Are they going to fail?
I mean, you fail, but you'll succeed. You can't get to success without failing.
Is it okay to fail, Kerrel?
It's definitely okay to fail, 100%.
So my mentor says either you win or you learn. What would you say about that?
I think that's 100% right. 100% right. You're gonna do one or the other. I had some expensive learning lessons, but all of it paid off in the end.